information. You guys are going to love this. And this morning it started again because we had a little technical difficulty even getting started. So, but that's the energy that we wanted. So let's come into the room and take some big breaths. Hold it for a bit. Let it go slowly. Another big breath. And hold it. Slow release. You want to be present today. You're being awakened to yourself. One more breath. Let it go. Slow release. You're more relaxed now. Okay, as we begin, for those of you who might not have been here or it's your first time, typically what I do, I'm not on the screen because I need my energy to stay focused. And if I see people, that doesn't happen. And so, but when I'm done delivering the Wilhelm information, we will bring everyone into the room. Then you'll have time to ask questions or receive any clarification that you might want. You have no idea how happy we are that you are here. We have waited for you your entire lives. We know we say that every time. This time you will believe it more. We have done everything to cause you to believe in yourselves because this is the day that you meant to actualize more of why you are here, what your worth and value that you have developed, that you have built up, you meant to use it today. You meant to begin today. This is why we wanted you to have in mind the world that you wanted to see and the life that you wanted to live, because this is the day that you have the most available energy that your planet has ever seen to use to actualize yourself and create the world that you want to see. The way the world looks today is due to you not living up to your mission yet. But you're not done. You're still doing it, but this is the opportunity that you have, and you meant to plan it here to do it. Now, that sounds really nuts, but we're going to tell you why we did this, because you have such little belief in your importance or your life journey or your divine plan. Some of you think you don't have one, and you do. And it was meant to be actualized now. Otherwise, you would not be hearing us. You would not be here. And we went to these lengths, I said, to give you this information. We took Roger through so much, and we still have him spinning a little bit, but we were determined that we were going to help more of you believe in yourselves and move through the fear and doubt, which is what you're seeing in your world. But you wanted to see that. You wanted it because now you can do your work. Now you can do what you came to the world to do. But you just know what that was. It was just becoming yourself. It was about moving through all the junk and becoming yourself. Let's go back. You had a full moon. We advised Roger not to do the session on the full moon because this one was very different. And many of you were going through grief, you were sad, you were moving through bodily issues that you didn't understand, all sorts of things. You meant to do that. You're letting go of generations of grief, generations of shame, generations of all the things that you didn't know. You're letting go of so much, but you did not know what you were up to. So you have been on this journey for quite a while. We know that many of you have felt that your lives have been difficult, especially in the last several years, but that's why you're here, because you wanted to move through that. You wanted to move through your restrictions and your limitations, as we've said, so that you could be available at this time to help others. Because see, you know more than a lot of others. You know more than what you're seeing out in your world. You do. You felt something within you that you knew you were meant to bring to the world. And sometimes you got really frustrated with that. Some of you thought you were too weak. We want to speak to you because this is your time. It really is. We've spoken of this before, and we've given Roger many talks on this, and we've given you messages where we talked about now you can understand that meek inherit the earth thing that you didn't understand. Then the other part of it, this is the day that you meant to let go of your judgment, your self-judgment. You cannot do the work that you came to do if you're still holding your judgment. And what we mean by that, you've each done things in your life that you're not pleased with, that you didn't get the results. But some of you have taken it too far. You're continually punishing yourselves, not understanding that you did that purposely. You took on something that you did so that you could learn a truth about yourself or about human development so that you could bring it to the world now. You each did that. You did it in your own way. If you look at your life and the experiences that you've had, especially the ones recently, some of them that felt difficult and what your world is moving through, it caused you to look within a bit more. And you're starting to remember things. You are all moving into a new dimension. Some of you have felt that, and some others won't have any recognition of that, but you're moving into a new dimension of yourselves and of your world. You've done it forever. This is how your world has evolved. This is how you have created new worlds. And that is actually what you're doing. And you've done it many times before. We told you Roger had ancient memory, and he didn't believe that, just like you don't believe your importance. And so we said, we got to do something to get more of you to understand your importance, especially now, because see, we told you that the world that you want to see is not guaranteed unless you do your part. And doing your part is becoming yourself. We can't say this enough. You think that there's something else that you need to do except understand your journey. And your journey is going to be filled with all sorts of things. Difficulties, challenges, and all of those that you put there because you want to move through them, and you're doing it now. Many of you have moved through so much in this lifetime that has caused you to become so present now, to shine, to actualize, that you would help your world move quicker. Let's say that you would help it move quicker into this higher place, this accelerated place. All right, so we began telling you that we gave you everything you needed to know in 2012. Roger didn't believe that. None of you believe that. How could that be? Because see, you're stuck in your linear time, which is a human thing, and you have to use that because otherwise you don't know where you are. We do not have linear time. We know that you're eternal beings, so we can look from those spaces and we can see over, so to speak. Some of you are beginning to see that. Some of you are being able to see over the illusions that are in front of you now. See, because what's going on in your world is what you wanted because you wanted to develop spiritually. In 2012, we began that year in January on the 1st, speaking of infinite intelligence, because we wanted each of you to understand that during that year, you were developing your skills and your talent and your ability to bring through infinite intelligence because you all have access to it. Except you did not give yourself credit for that. But that's why you're here. You each have lived lifetimes where you didn't do something, where you didn't complete something, but you've completed a lot of it now. We're going to tell you how we know that, because you're here and because you're listening, or because you're listening to it at the right time. If you listen to this recording later, it will still be that right time where you have completed something. And now we need you to own that so that you can shine. And to encourage you, we told you that we were going to orchestrate some things. We told you this yesterday, that we were going to orchestrate some things yesterday that would give you each more belief in yourself. And one of the things that we did was we had Roger have an Akashic record reading. Again, it always gets really confronting for the reader when they meet with Roger, because they contact this information that we've been telling you he has, this ancient information. So they took him back to what we told you all, Egypt. That was his closest, that's what he could see, where his DNA had come and what he is doing now. But they also showed him what we had said before. Roger felt that there was something in some other lifetimes that he was making up for now. He knew that. They just gave him more definition. They just gave him more clarity on that. And one day we may have him show you some of that recording, because you wouldn't believe it. And then they said that he was given this information in 2012. And they said it was an operation. You have this ability to see this human operation. He cried when he heard that, you see, because he, like you, couldn't believe himself. But we did that for you. We want you to see. He did. We've talked about this quite a bit. We've gone over and over it. We've done it in our messages to you, in our written messages to you. That there's something that you came to complete in this lifetime, and you've pretty much done it. You've done so much of it. It doesn't feel that way to you. That's because you don't recognize the value and worth that you have developed. Because you see, you went through certain things, and some of you have judged those as being horrible or terrible. But you did that for your world. You did that for humankind. That's why you did it. You thought you were just going through these difficulties by yourself? No, you were doing it for this purpose. And now your world is at the place this day that we told you was coming. We told you. We told you in 2012. See, in 2012, we told you to wait. None of you knew what that meant. We said to wait because you were going to, many in your world thought the world was ending. We said, no, that's not what is occurring. We're carrying on this legacy, this ancient legacy, and it came through the Mayan civilization in the calendar, as we told you. That's how we could find this and show Roger what this was. And he still couldn't believe that he could have received that. We're saying this because we need each of you to hear the lie that you have been telling yourselves, that you don't have what it takes. That's not true. You just meant to actualize it now. And so then we told him that we want you to start doing a course. We want you to teach this information. He thought, well, he said, how can I do that? I didn't even know I had it. None of you know you have what you have. That's the whole point. That's why we wanted to talk about potential. You're born with potential, you see. But it doesn't do anything unless you start to take some action, unless you move. So we told Roger, move. Do something. So we had him create a course because we wanted to work with you. We wanted to work with you closer. And then yesterday, he received this wonderful message, you see, that let him know that, oh, we weren't kidding. This does work. Someone said, I'm so very grateful for the past 14 days. We told him that what you have gone through, you need to appreciate this, and many of you will do this because you've done it. You've gone through things, and it's taken you a while to figure stuff out, but now you kind of know it, and there are others coming behind you who will use your wisdom, who will use your experience to cause your world to continue to evolve. Even though you didn't know you were doing that, but that's what's happening. And so when they took him back to these ancient times, they said at one point he mummified people. He mummified in the Egypt. He mummified people. It means he covered them. And they said, now what you're doing is you're opening up. Now you're here to open up, to clear minds, to help people awaken to who they are. That's why you're here now. And each of you are here with some mission like that. Otherwise, you would not be listening to these words. You would never hear them. Your higher self has directed you throughout your entire life to be here now so that you could start to hear these words, because it's not us, not Roger. It is your higher self that is speaking to you, who has always spoken to you. And all we do is say certain words that will trigger your listening. We want you to think of that, because sometimes you're not listening. Roger didn't listen forever. We've told you that. But you do that at the appropriate place, time in your evolutionary journey, and it's different for every person. Let's talk, and we're going to give you something else because we're going to talk about your world today and why it looks the way it does and what you've done with your pandemic, what we've told you about. We told you back in October. Roger listened to that recording and he was kind of freaked out because, oh, wow, they said that this would what be here now. We told you. In 2012, the entire year, all the messages that we gave you, we called it your life operating instructions. That's what everything is in there. And we had the information we had Roger begin the program with. But your life operating instructions, and through that entire year, we said, none of you would have seen this, Roger missed it. We talked about your physical life experience. We said that over and over again because we wanted you to understand that this is not about what you think it is. You came to the earth, you were born because you wanted to develop spiritually. That's what's fulfilling. And you use everything that goes on in your world to cause that to happen because you will see experiences, you'll have things occurring, and you will make choices about those. The only difficulty that many of you have had is that you did not know why you were making your choices. You didn't have any forethought. And now we're going to tell you how you could heal your world and your lives. Is to think of your intention. Before you do absolutely anything, you're going to think of your intention. And we're going to tell and you haven't done that, otherwise you would not still be experiencing your pandemic. We told you, this time you've kept it going much longer than you did the last time, more than 100 years ago, because you made this a fight amongst yourselves instead of the unifying factor that we told you it was meant to be. You've done this over eons. You come into the world as humans and you interact. And as you interact, things happen. You as souls, you come in as spirit souls, you come into the earth to experience everything physical. You only do that because you know that it will cause you to expand spiritually, you see? The physical stuff doesn't mean anything. When you have a virus, it's an organism. It grows just like you do. That's all. And it wants to survive. And so it will do everything in its power to survive. If you don't stop it, it'll keep surviving. That's what you've done. But see, you separate things. All matter is energy. And so it has they're organisms. And you only are using those things in your life to decide who you are. And so if you ask yourself an intention, because you come into the world to create evolution. And the way you do that is that you decide that you're going to work through your restrictions and limitations first, because you know if you do that, you become these whole empowered people. And as you do that, the world becomes that, and your world continues to evolve. That's what happens. But when you start making it something else, which you did not recently, you started this, your world started this centuries ago. It's changing. This is the most dramatic shift that your world has experienced. And we've spoken of this, the different age that you would have gone through, this galactic shift that has happened, you're moving into, it's going to take a while. That's why we're going to keep working with you, because you're not going to be there because of the resistance that you each have. However, be cognizant of the fact that you are moving into this new age of Aquarius, as you speak of it. I'm giving you the human terms, but it is the energy of togetherness. And each of you have had more of that. That's been more of your essence and more of what you wanted to see. As we have said continually, you move through your life making decisions to fulfill some aspect of your soul's development, evolvement. And a lot of times you get afraid of that. You become afraid of that. And so what we did, again, we had Roderick move through all of these things in his life so that he could be available now. In the reading, in the Akashic Records reading, what we have said about his journey became much more clear. That he had moved through all these horrible things in his life, and he didn't even understand why it didn't come until 2012, until we started showing him more of this, you see. See, that time, his life was very different. We're going to bring this into what you can all do now. See, at that time, his life was very different. He had gone through one of his many struggles, failures, lost everything. He's done that many times. That's why we say to you all, none of that matters. It's about where you're going. But you've used it individually, some of you, to hold yourselves back. So he was in 2012. There were some that thought, well, maybe you were going through something really difficult. And we told him, no, you weren't. That was one of the best times of his life. His mother had passed in 2010, and he had helped her with that completion. And it allowed him to move into another deeper level of understanding, because she knew what he had, like many of your parents do know. You didn't believe that either. But she knew, and she even spoke through the reading yesterday, that she was very pleased. Just like we said to all of you, your ancestors are watching with curiosity, because you're here now to bring in a new world, and you're doing that by becoming willing to move through your doubt, fear, and your limitations and restrictions. And some of those you are carrying forth from your ancestors, from all of that. And so that's why it's been so heavy. You've never done this, none of you. And that was the other thing. We said, you've not experienced this. Everyone was attempting to know what was going on with the pandemic, and then you made different decisions about that. The decision that you were meant to make is the one that would be the best for the whole, for all, because we're moving into a different age, you see, where it's not the selfishness, it's just us, it's everyone, because you don't survive unless you come to understand that. And so your dilemma is to figure out how you accomplish that in your life and then in the world. We started giving Roger this thing that we want you to all understand, because this is the dilemma, and you will figure it out. And those who are in our program will understand this, because you're figuring it out right now. See, because each of you come into the world, and then you become conflicted about which way to go. But then you start to form a particular way sometimes, and then you start to contradict yourself. You don't believe things, and you've done it in your life, and your society does it. And there are so many areas that we will continually point out where you're not looking at the levels of control that you try to impose upon one another. But you've done that forever, see, because whoever has the power can kind of rule things. But you have more of the power. That's why we wanted you here today, to hear that. We wanted you to understand your worth and value. You're the people who cared about others. You're the people who wanted to find the right decisions to change things. You were the people who didn't want to fight with others. That's why it's been challenging for you as well, because you haven't figured out how you can take your beliefs and ideas and what you know and put it into the world to cause evolution. We said you're conflicted, you're contradictory, and you're right. That's your dilemma, see? Because you're going to see that you're right in your beliefs and your ideas, and then others are going to come around and going to say, no, it's not it. And you're going to have to bring forth your essence, because we know what that is. You will find something that will help when you really think about it. Your intention with any action that you decide to take, if you were to be mindful, we've spoken of mindfulness and mindful, I'm going to take this action. What result do I want to have occur from this? And we're not going to tell you what that is, because you each have to make that decision. We told Roger a while ago, as he started discovering, looking at his life and all the things that he had moved through, we said, you came to marry science and spirituality and personal development. And again, the Akashic Records proved us right. It showed us yesterday. That was right. So for him, it was a very different decision about what he would do. And we had him speak of this yesterday, right when he didn't know why he was doing any of this. When the pandemic first came about, he decided that he was going to start to prepare. He was going to start to be a warrior right then. He went out and he got a mask, a face mask before anybody knew. He didn't know why he was doing it either. Then on February 18th, 2020, he got a vaccine. And then we sent over a news camera to shoot this. We've told you about this. And then what came out of his mouth was, I'm not worried about this virus. I'm not going to die. He knows he's not, that's not what's happening for him. Some of you felt that too. But he made a different decision that not everyone will make. He said, no, I'm going to get it, see, because I don't know the other stuff. He could look back at his life and he could see all the things that he did not believe and he didn't trust, and he knew he was supposed to do science and figure that out. And then he suffered the losses of that. But his more important for him, not for you, for him, the more important thing for him was to know that his actions were going to lead to the benefit, to the welfare of more, of all. That's what he came to work out this time, because he was mummifying people before. And that is, you each have to ask that question. And not many people have asked it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the world that you do now. You would be making different decisions. You would come together, and that's the purpose of this. Now, we will say that you came to change that. We've told you, you came to usher in a new world, and we told you that this was the day that you meant to do it. You intended to do it today. You intended to start today, because it's going to go for a while. That's why we're going to keep working with you. We told Roger, you're not going to stop this program after 4 weeks. You're going to keep going, because this is too great. This is too much fun. And he shifted his life, because we told each of you to make a decision about where you want to go and use the energies of this time, this solstice, to then inject your life, and it will happen. I'm telling you, it will happen. You have looked at things going on now, and you've experienced all sorts of emotions. All of them were meant to awaken you to who you are. Even your anger, you have to deal with that. Some of you, you're on different paths and you're doing different things. We had Roger do a video some time ago. We mentioned this, and he just realized today, well, yesterday, when he did that video, he thought he was doing it. It was arbitrary, he thought, but he did a video on "We Were All Brainwashed" was the title that he gave it, because we wanted you to see how each of you have limited yourselves in some way. Not in other people who are brainwashed, it's you. You have not thought of or known or recognized or realized your potential. That's all. And so when he went back to look, he just happened, he was in the group. He was in the group with the folks who were taking the program. And he said, oh, let me show you. I had to come to this place where I needed to be able to speak my truth in a way that I knew it was going to cause unity instead of division. That was all. And then when he went back to look at the video, he saw it, and he's playing it in the group, and he was shocked, because he's holding a paper. He said, in 2012, I was given this. Again, we're doing all of this to let each of you know, and you've seen it, you've felt it recently. You are on a path that was planned for you, and you're starting to see things now come up in your lives that are causing you to remember. And you're here now to live a magnificent life. If you were to actualize yourself and trust what you have, you're going to cause that to happen in your life and in the world. We were going to say, we had him last night, we were going to say, you just have him send out an announcement, say, you just have to jump in. And what we meant by that, you've been holding back a bit in your lives because of this lack of trust in the gift that you've been given. You've each been given one. You each have it, but you've doubted it. It's not important enough. And that is the thing that has been the biggest lie that you've told yourself. Your essence was enough. You were born with that. You come into the world with all this potential, but you've also made an agreement before you came in. You purposely did this. That's why you're here now. This isn't accidental, but you purposely came in because you knew that there were certain elements of your personality, your life, your soul's journey that you had not fulfilled. You never will, because you're eternal beings. Again, Everything we gave you in 2012 talked about your physical body. You're only using your physical body to discover who you are spiritually. Some of you call them your morals or whatever you want to call it, but you know the feeling of it. It's been ingrained in you. It's embedded. You feel it. And your emotions will tell you, if you use mindfulness and say, what is my intent in doing this? Is what I'm about to do. These are the questions. Oh, in the reading, we must tell you this, that the reader yesterday said, oh, you have this gift of giving people, of writing. It's something in writing. They did not know that we've given you a program where you would have to write, because we told you how important that was for you to get in touch with who you were. And many of you are starting to see that now. And we also told you about the consistency. When you stay in it, you change your brain. You change what you think about yourself, because that's been the only problem, the only difficulty that you've had. But you were meant to have that. This is the part we really want each of you to understand. Because you're here and all of you have done different things. You're in different levels, different ages, different parts of your evolutionary journey, but you've all done things that you feel, wait a minute, this was a problem. This was a mistake. No, it wasn't. It was not. It was learning. It was evolving. You got to let go of that. Now, this is the time you meant to let go of it, you see. In 2012, on this date, we told you to wait. That's what our message said. See, because many people thought that the world was going to end. We said, that's not happening. You're just starting. You're just starting to bring in this new idea, this new world. And what we gave you was a philosophy. Roger couldn't have understood it then. That's why he was so shocked still these last several months of discovering this. But we're saying that because you each will have that experience, because you have the same thing. We gave you a message that said self-discovery can be frightening. Many of you are experiencing that in different ways. You've been interpreting it not quite in the right way, but just recently, due to the events of your world, you're starting to feel those things come about. But you came, and we can say this because we know you came to be here at this time, which is why we were so insistent on doing this talk today, because the energy of this will not be missed on any of you unless you decide to go back to your old self. See, that's the message that we gave Roger in 2005. He had a dream. You had that too. You have your dreams, and you've kind of put them away a lot of the times. You've put them off. And so we showed him his dream where he meant to do this. And he said, no, I can't do that. It's like you've done. And so he judged himself forever for doing that, until we said, no, that was part of the path. Now you've cleaned up that karma. You've released that. And many of you here have done that, except you haven't recognized it quite yet. You will, because we're going to keep talking. There's so many things that are happening in your world now that each of you meant to bring your light to. And we're saying that purposely. We want you to understand your light. There's in your world, the difficulty that you're having moving through, as we told you from the very beginning of our talks, you're continually moving through this power struggle. You always struggle between power, control, love, and money. You believe that whoever has the most is in control, and that is never true, because you are all in control. No one has more than another. This is the balance that you're coming to figure out now. You came to be a part of this restructuring, as we've told you, because your essence would be so important at this time in the movement of the world and in the movement of your life, your personal life. That's what's happening. You would not be here unless that was your intent. And then you find us to help you, which is exactly what Roger had to do. He's given you what we've given him, which took so long, and he can smile about it now because he can look at the horror of his life and say that was worth it. And in an instant, it was worth it. When he saw the work that many of you did in the program, he said it's worth it. And I brought him to tears again. Because you made a commitment to come into the world, to own yourself, to love yourself, to let go of your judgment, to understand the brilliant journey that you decided to take. You did. The reason we told you to wait on December 21st of 2012 is because you needed time. You each needed time to move through more of your evolutionary restrictions and that, so that you could be available now. Which is why we've said to you many times, we've said to you every single session, please let go of your judgments, your self-judgment. This is the time. Every mistake you made was brilliant. Because you captured some wisdom that you can use now. Every failure that you had was purposeful. It just moved you to a new direction. Many of you are going to be making those choices now, which is why we keep saying that you're in different places, but you're all in places where on your path, your evolutionary journey, it's always the next step that you're meant to take is in front of you right now. And we want to say this because you can get distracted because of what's occurring in your world. You're seeing those fighting for power, and that's going to go on because they're not willing to change. You have to become willing to change. And as you know, in our program, we had you go through and examine first, acknowledge who you are and what you've been holding on to. And that was the gunk. And it was challenging and difficult for many of you. But you have no idea how thrilling that is to let go of it. Sometimes you're just not looking at it. You're not talking about it. That's what's weighing you down. But now it's different. You will feel it. You'll feel it after this day. It's not possible for these words not to stay in your consciousness. You're going to hear them again. And you're going to know why you're here. That's why we said, when we sent out the message this morning, we told Roger, just do a really quick one, really fast. Just say, you will know more of your worth and value. Each of you are on a path, your individual path, where you move through challenges, difficulties. Some of you used illnesses, addiction. Some of you used mental challenges or physical deformities, as you call them, which they are never that. But you've used all these different things, you see, to bring balance into your world, because all of those things are essential. The part that we want you to each get to, even the others, as we've talked about often, that you don't agree with, that you think are giving you the problem and all of that, no, those are your gifts. Those are your gifts, because they get you to see who you are. They get you to own it. You felt that. But sometimes you have to go through these processes. As we said, we've taken you through everything. We took you through anger. Don't judge yourself for having the anger, because sometimes you're carrying it from those relatives, those people who could not do things before. And so now you're purging it for them because they can't do it. But you've done so much of that already. And that's why we're so pleased, because we know who you are. We know why you're here. And as we said, our job was to help more of you move through your fear and doubt. And it's a challenge. We will, as we're going through this, we're going to figure this out, because we're telling Roger that there's information in that reading yesterday that it would be valuable for more of you to hear. Because, see, he had this fear of becoming too big. He kept himself small. Many of you have done that. And he was shown that, no, you're supposed to do that. That was his resistance. And we can tell you, we'll tell you the story. When you are each experiencing different dimensions of yourselves, and that can be frightening sometimes, but each of you have had it in different ways. You felt some of that just recently. And he did that. And so when we would come through and do these sessions, and he would listen later, as we've said, he would completely freak out, because he was how did I get to this dimension? Some of you are doing that. We want you to understand there's so many of them, more than you can imagine. We told them, just stay here right now. You don't need to investigate and delve into all the others. Let's just work with this, because that's what you decided this time. Each of you made a definite plan for yourselves, and this is the time that you meant to have it start to unfold. And we said start, because you don't do anything, you don't change quickly. We're talking about thousands and thousands of years. So be a little patient with yourselves as you step into this next part of your life, because you will. Today, you're doing that. You're in this collective world, you see. So you're not divorced from what is occurring in the world and in the planets, all of that. You're that integral part. The one thing that we would like for each of you to understand is the importance of your existence. See, because all beings are that important. These are the contradictions that we tell you make up. You will go to your churches and you will try to accept that concept, but then you'll look at certain people and say, no, it can't be them. And then you call that religion. But it's not you. You've done this over civilizations. And every civilization, you become more inclusive. This is a huge one, though. This is a big one. This is a big shift that you're doing. And the fear that many have about the world ending, we do not have that. Your world is not ending. It'll be different because you're going to make it that. You're doing that. That's why you're here. We told you. We wanted you to understand your worth and value, because that's how the world's going to be what you want it to be. And we're so sure of that. And no matter what you are seeing out there in the world, you must know that you're creating it. But you've not paid attention to how you're creating it. You're creating it by how you choose to think. And you're creating by how you choose to think about yourself, because you are the world. Try to sit aside. You are. Anything that you want for yourself, and we gave you all of this in 2012. Roger is reviewing it. That's been the most wonderful part of this. This is the thing that we want to tell you, because you will understand this. You each have something that you feel, some potential, some talent, some whatever it might be, or you've created something. Some of you are in business and done things, and you don't quite know yet if it's really going to work or valuable. You don't even know, even if you're doing some other artistic thing, you don't know what value that's going to have into the world. And you never know that until you do it. And you've been given all of those things already. They're within you. You don't have to go and get anything. See, they're within you. And so what happened was, Roger, when he received all of this, he took our transcription for an entire year. He goes, why didn't I know this? And why didn't I actualize it? Because he felt embarrassed. Why didn't I actualize it? None of you have. That's the point of your lives. You're given things when you come in, and then you live your lives, and then you start discovering them. You start uncovering them, and that's what he did. He just had a different life path this time, because he's fulfilling this point that we told you all about. He was quite aware of it, where he abdicated his leadership. And then he had other lifetimes, which they began to tell him, where he felt that he didn't do enough. And so now he's making up for that in his way, but he loves it. And you will too. That's why you're here. You're here to enjoy yourself. You're here to have fun. You're here for joy. And that's why when we do our talks, we're keeping them up here, because you're doing enough of the disaster thinking on your own. We're not doing that. And again, that information validated Roger, because it came out through the reading yesterday. You see, you each have these plans. We did this because you think that there isn't something that's laid out for you, and there is, every single one of you. And it's important and it's vital. The world does not exist with all the different energies and essences coming together, collaborating and causing expansion. Roger never understood till yesterday why we kept using those words so much, that word, because it came up. That's what part of that was his mission. You each have your mission that you're on right now, and it is in front of you. And if you don't stop, your world will heal. Yes, we're saying that you, because you each are that responsible, because you each have that much power. That's the contradictory thing, you see. You'll say, this person has all the power, not me. You even did it in your religions. Some of you, you have some of those in the Christian religion, for instance, who speak of Jesus as being the Savior and died for your sins. And he says, you can do what I do. And you said no. He went through things in his life so that you wouldn't have to, right? But why couldn't you see that you did the same thing? You've done the same thing. He told you that you were going to do it. This is the contradictory part, and you don't even see it. You contradict yourselves all the time. But each lifetime, you heal more of that. And the way you do it is by owning more of yourselves, because every time you do that, you are moving up another level, your ascension ladder in your evolutionary journey. And that's what each of you are doing now. And we're so pleased you're doing it, because you're going to make a difference in the world. We had so much that we have given, but we would like to, we said last night, we knew this would come up. We want to now open it up for your questions and your clarifications or your feelings or what you might be going through. And we will offer some clarifications. So Stan will bring you into the room and you'll be able to speak and ask your questions.
Yes, I am going to be sending out invitations for you to join as a panelist. You'll get the alert on your screen. And once you're here, click on the little raise hand icon. We found that makes it easier to ask your questions. I am sending the invitations out now. And also, if you are too shy to ask your question on camera, send me a chat and I will ask the question on your behalf.
Now that we've had Stan speak, we will tell you a little more about him. And we told Roger last night that we were going to bring this up because we want each of you to understand what you're doing. You're creating a legacy for yourself right now. And you chose this period of your life to be able to do it. And it's been pre-planned. You set it up a while ago. We told Roger that's what he had done. That's why when he found Stan 2 years ago, we said, please go talk to him. Because we want to make sure that the legacy is carried forth. You each are doing that. You may do it with your kids, you may do it with your businesses or whatever it is, but you have a legacy that you're leaving and you want to make sure that you're leaving it one that you're going to be proud of. And that's why we're so happy. Any questions that you might have? Any clarification you seek?
Yes. Okay, so Carrie has a question, and just to let everyone know, I accidentally had the no video allowed thing on. You may turn your camera on now if you so desire. Carrie, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi. So last time I was live with you guys, you were talking about you said something that struck me, which was about living with contrast, which I've realized at that point I've been doing for a long time. And since then, about 7 weeks ago, I came into contact with somebody, and I feel like it's a person that I've been asking for. And he has kind of been like showing me, it's been like a combination of a mirror and a contrast as well. So kind of at the same time, a mirror and a contrast. And I was just wondering, like, is he like a portal or is he a vehicle?
He's what most of you call your twin flame, and which is another aspect that many of you have not understood. And I thank you for that question, because you will have these people walk into your lives. You think they're not accidental. They show up at the right time because your higher self called them in to help you. And yes, and sometimes they will be the reflection, and you will hate that reflection. It will cause you to be so uncomfortable. And then at the same time, you will know that that experience itself is causing you to become more. And it feels as if that's what occurred for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like at first it was like, oh my God, I've been asking for you for so long. And the funny thing is, we've actually been in the same circles for about 20 years, but we've never shown ourselves to each other until now.
You that was meant to happen. Each of you are having those things. You're having certain things coming up in different ways. Sometimes it's with people, but you're having things show up to cause you to see that you didn't notice this before. You see, you didn't see, they were right there. And this is what we're saying, the things that are within you, which is why we want you to let go of your judgment, because you're going to start to uncover so much more of them. In our program, we make it very clear to you that you're not to judge yourself for any of this. You're supposed to uncover everything and move through it. See? And that's what, and because what will happen is when you uncover things, you will start to experience that potential that you had, and you'll start to say, why didn't I do that before? That's not helpful. You weren't supposed to do it before. You were supposed to do it when you discover it. It's always the right time and the perfect time for your life experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Clarity, you've unmuted. What's your question? Yes, Clarity, go ahead.
I found out yesterday that my circle of friends has a very diverse set of opinions. So I have a diverse community. And my first impression yesterday, I posted a video, and one of my friends, who is a retired clinical psychologist, her response was, I can't get into that. Mm-hmm. And then I reflected on another friend of mine who said, that doesn't resonate with me. Mm-hmm. And my first impression was to be, oh, there's something wrong with it. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I was allowing them to set the parameters of my goodness. Mm-hmm. And what I've found was, one of the restrictions I put on myself is, if anyone says, I don't get it, or that's so strange, or mm-hmm. wow, where did that come from? Mm-hmm. Then I go, oh, I am the alien. Mm-hmm. And I go back, I retreat. Instead of embracing, I'm creating something new for the universe. That's why people are, going, wow, that makes my mind go expand.
You offered more clarification for the previous comment. You set this up. You set up your life in a way that you could experience the contrast so that you could own yourself. And when you stop needing other people to agree with you, you're finding yourself. And you come home, and then see, you don't need, you see the contrast because you want to believe in yourself. And once you start doing that, you will give everyone else the permission to do the same. And let's add a little bit more about this, because we feel that in your world now, more of the division is political. It's about your virus. It's about power and control, as we said. It's about your types of government. Because is it better to have a democracy, or maybe you should have a ruler? We'll tell you that that's going to change, because you're moving into a new age, because that can't stand. But you have to usher that in, as we've said. However, in order for you to get there, you must experience all of these other alternative ideas and beliefs and experiences, so that you form yours and own yours. Because when you own yours, you're going to be loving. You're not going to care. You're not going to hurt other people. We've told you that. The best part of you would never hurt another. Subjective words.
I also want to add that the reason why each of us are being challenged is because, despite of our knowledge of cycles of political, cycles of humanity, shifting, migrations of power, all those things that we are learning, that we are trying to squeeze something new that's never been attempted before.
Correct.
To its realization.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's been genius in the universe,
Mm-hmm.
but they've never been able to bring it to culmination.
Thank you. You brought
So
it.
what we're trying to do is a holistic approach
Mm-hmm.
to this evolution. So we can't just focus on one aspect of that tripartite that you're talking about.
We've mentioned often in
Thank
the
you.
past talks of as you move through your lives, depending on your evolutionary, your particular journey, you will meet with those who will inspire your direction, so to speak. And so yesterday, we want you to understand this. We brought up Tesla and Einstein during Roger's reading, because he'd always felt that there was something that he's supposed to know, and it was, because they were same ilk, so to speak, their beliefs, their ideology, and all of that. And so when it occurred with both of them, they began to think outside of the box as they aged, as they gained more wisdom, as they gained more knowledge. They started to see, wait a minute, something's operating differently here. Oh, maybe it's energy. Maybe we have more control and power than we think if we understand that there's energy. But see, they weren't believed. Thought to me be weird at some points, So each of you have done that. When you come up with something, yes, you're going to that's different, and as was stated, yes, you're bringing in something that's never been done before, and that's why it feels so strange and difficult for many of you. But it's the biggest thing you've ever done, and so that's why we're so proud of you. Do we have more? We will give you another, we want to give you something else, because we want you each to figure this out, because we gave Roger this experience. Wow, we really orchestrated so much. The other night, his 82-year-old friend had a stroke, and he went to the hospital, and they had him in the emergency room, but they couldn't find a bed for him because they were filled with COVID people. Now, there would be a part of Roger that wanted to go into rage. Why is that happening? If people had taken care of that, this wouldn't be going on for my friend. And he also knew that that's not going to help. It's not going to help. You've got to find a way for you to come with your better angels so that you can speak to the better angels of the others, because they're all there. May not be expressed in this lifetime for them, but it's there somewhere. But the point is, you are here to understand your intent, your personal, your moral compass, if you want to call it that, but your intent and how you want your life to be and what you want the world to look like, because they are not separate. And that's the part that each of you are going to figure out when we when you work through those little things we gave you, the ambiguity and being right. You each will figure it out, but then you'll come together and you will start manifesting the world that you all wanted to see. We're so pleased with all of you. We're so pleased with what you've taken on, and we will continue to support. We will do more talks. There's so much information. We will say this. We will make a schedule. We will put it out there because we must do more talks. There are many things coming up in that we see happening, and the support will be valuable. Please understand that the holidays will bring up a little more tension for you as in different ways, but however, we will still move through that.
So you're going to give Roger a little more advance notice? Can we trust him?
When we send him information, it was from what we sense is happening in your world. We can only sense that as it begins, as it in the moment, It happens in the moment. We know it gets a little confusing. Even his staff gets a little upset with that. But we have to give him the things that we know are going to be the most powerful in the experience of your world. And that is dependent on the actions that each of you take. So we will let you know. We love you all so very much. And thank you for being here. We are complete. I'm on a different side of the room. I was way over there. I turned different sides. That's crazy. Okay. Hi, everyone. And that was fun. Oh, the time.
The horrors of the crypt. The mummifier. He has come back.
Wait a minute. Why did you say that? Why did you say that? The horrors?
Because they told us about your Akashic record.
Who told you?
Oh, Mr. W. And his friends.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no.
You were an undertaker.
But you said the word. Did that come through? The horrors? How did you?
They didn't say horrors.
No, horrors didn't. Horrors came through in my reading yesterday. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what came through in my reading yesterday. I haven't told anyone that.
Well, Wilhelm just let the beans out. He spilled on you.
Wow. Okay.
So we all know you're sacred herbs.
I mean, that's so.
People in honey and wrapping them in gauze.
I'd never even heard of it
Tales
before yesterday. I'd never even heard of it before yesterday, and so it was like
the words he used was his horrors of his past lives.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, the horrors of his life. Yeah.
Oh my word. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll have to listen. I told you I don't know. I'll listen. Okay. Wow. Okay.
I hear Vincent Price in the background. Roger didn't know. Or that's Bathroom Rathbone, I'm sorry. Roger didn't know he had been an Egyptian undertaker.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I will. We will, as soon as I know the schedule, we'll put everything together. But I thank you all so much for being here. This was really terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.